computer. So we are officially recording. I'm going to share my screen so that it will show the Moodle page, not me sitting at a table. So let me get into our particular page. So thank you for being here. Let me see if I can. I was going to go through names and say hi. Oh, let me see. Let me pause a minute, please. And here we go. So we are recording. And so we've already kind of talked about 1, 2. We are in week 3 at this point. So we are going to take a look at this one. So in this particular overview, and you'll notice I don't do a video overview every week. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It just depends on my mood and I don't know, a lot of variables. But what are we looking for? We are talking annotating this week, okay? Annotating. Now, the big overarching goal on this is active reading and active reading strategies. And we're going to cover more than just annotating, but we're focusing on annotating this week. So we're also going to talk about note-taking and some other things as well in the upcoming weeks. So in your required textbook, I want you to be reading pages 354, 391. It's chapter 8. And it's preview, study, read, review. It's a strategy. Essentially, you are readying your brain to take a look at some things. That's previewing. And then you have to study, read, and then review. So in the process of how you are processing information, I'm going to quick look and see if I can find what I'm looking for here down at the bottom. My PowerPoint. I want to talk to you about some things. I want active reading. So give me a second. I don't know if this is the right one because I, like a Goofus, I did not. Oh no, I don't want you. Oh, I have to use this one. Oh, rats. Shooter, this is not what I want. I have my own PowerPoints, but I bet they're not ADA, and I bet that's why I didn't include them. Hey, look at me go. Context, annotating. I don't see my PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to just do some lecture then. And the PowerPoint for the chapter, which I can do, it's just not as good as the one I did. But that's okay. It's going to help remind me for lecture. So preview, study, read, and review. I refer to it as PSR. It's, say again? Huh? Question?
I said, it's look like flea on my desk.
Oh, well, yeah, no, I can't help you there. Feel free to kill it or get rid of it, but it's not mine. I'm good, but I'm going to pull away from you. But there are some tissues over there if you want that kind of a thing. So one of the things, I don't know if I talked with this group or another group, at the beginning, at the entry, beginning couple pages of every single chapter, in our textbook, the author kind of gives you a lay of the land, kind of a preview of what's going to be in that chapter. So one mistake that students often make when they read is they literally sit down and start reading. That's kind of like when you go to mow the lawn, you just get the lawnmower out and you just pull and start pushing. How many of you have ever had to mow a lawn? Anybody? Okay, I asked that because it's becoming fewer and fewer. Good, most of us have had to mow a lawn. How many of you have a push mower? You know, the kind that you got to push, not a rider, just a push mower. Okay. How many of you have the drawstring kind or whatever it's called, pull to start? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. This is not applicable for, electric motors or those kinds of things. So when in my mower, I mow my lawn. When I'm mowing my lawn, I need to go out and I need to push a button. It's called priming. Okay, you prime the motor. Does everybody know the purpose for priming a motor? Go for it.
They kind of like delivered fuel to the-
Yeah, it's getting fuel in the tank so it starts easier. So it engages all of the elements of the engine better, right? Yeah, if I don't prime on my mower, what usually has to happen is it takes me at least 5 pulls to get it to start up. Because every time I pull, you get a little bit of gas in there and to get it ready. But it takes me about 5 pulls. If I prime, it'll start up on the first or the second right away because it's ready. So you want to think about reading that way. When you are reading, if you're assigned to do a reading for anything, not just my course, any kind of reading, you don't just start reading. You want to get your brain primed so that it processes the information better. So that's called preview. And preview is when you look it over and you determine characteristics of the chapter, what's the author feel is important, not important, those kinds of things. So when you're previewing, if you look at our particular textbook, the author gives you some serious clues and helpful hints just by the way it's laid out. So that's where we're at with this slide. If you notice, every chapter has this kind of diagram or map about what's inside it. And so you can see the big giant green on top, that tells you the name of the chapter. Okay, so that's the big idea, the big topic. And then the blue square, this is a key element of it. So again, a main idea that's going to be contained. Then the smaller green ones, if you look, it's stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. All of those are related to preview, study, read, PSR. So if you look at this, PSR has 3 steps, 3 stages, and then it gives you information about each stage of what's in it. Does that make sense? So this is like a visual clue. This is the visual clue of content of this chapter. So if you take a look at it, here's the big idea. This is what it's about, right? PSR. These are the key elements that are related to it, and then this is stuff about this, this is stuff about, and so on and so forth, okay? So they give you a visual clue of the layout of the book, okay? So then the other clue about our book that you may or may not know, if you have the textbook, go ahead, open up and take a look. If you don't, just kind of remember this. The author makes significant use of color to give you clues about things in the chapter. So one of the biggest things, I guess, just take a look. If you have a book, give me a shout out if you already notice a pattern or something about color. Did anybody notice anything about it?
The highlights in yellow.
Okay, what do the highlights represent? Do they highlight the vocabulary words or keywords?
Yes.
Okay, so keywords or terminology are in a different color. I want you to go bigger. Look at the background colors. Do all the pages have the same background color? Okay, so some pages have a white background. Some pages have a greenish tint background. Some pages have a yellow tint background, correct? Right? So this is what I mean by a giant clue. The author has organized visually for you. Information that you see with a white background on it, those pages, that's content. So if you're thinking like it might be on a test, yeah, stuff with a white content background, that's going to probably be on a test. Information that it's contained in the green backgrounds, those are activities. Those are meant for you to engage in and do to understand the material, but you're not tested on them. Right? It's stuff you're doing. And then the yellow, anything with the yellow, those are kind of review, summary type items, practice test, practice quiz, all that kind of stuff. Make sense? So what we're doing right now is we're previewing the book. Another thing that I do before I start reading with previewing is one of the first things I want to know when I'm assigned a reading. So for example, if I have to assign chapter 8, read chapter 8, which is what I did, I want to know how many pages. So I look at the chapter and I go, I count the pages. How many pages? Why is knowing the page number, why is it the amount, why is that important? Yeah, go for it.
You can estimate kind of the time it's going to take.
Yeah, you want to do some estimation in your head of, okay, how much of a time commitment is this going to take? This also brings us to another point in the fact that your brain does better. It processes information better if you read smaller amounts over multiple sessions. So instead of sitting down reading all of a chapter, let's pretend you have 40 pages. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to read chapter 8 right now, and you read all 40 pages in an hour, okay, your brain tapped out at about the 5-minute mark. Okay? It is much better if you chunk it. Say, okay, I'm going to read this section. Stop. Do whatever you got to do with that section. Take a break with it, and then go back and do, again, the next section, so on and so forth. So the reason we're talking about this is as you determine to do annotating or note-taking, your goal is not to sit down and do it in one setting. It is to designate time within your schedule that you can do short amounts multiple times. You want to chunk or break up your information so that you do a limited amount and get that done, and then come back and do the next one, and so on and so forth. A huge mistake students make in the college arena is they will sit down and try to get it all done in one night or one afternoon. And I've made this mistake. You know, when I was in college, Sunday afternoons were homework day, right? I would do all my readings and all my homework, and what happens is your brain taps out, whether you realize it or not. You may want to get it all done one day, but your brain is not capable of processing into long-term memory that long. So we're going to be talking more in depth about this, but I do want to forewarn you, when you are doing your annotating, your goal is not to sit and do it all in one sitting. Do a section at a time. Again, if you, we were talking with a student earlier, if you are limited on your time availability, maybe in your world, if you have small children, family, work, all these other obligations, you know what? 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock is the only time you have every day to get work done, and you got to get it done in that 2 hours. Okay. My advice to you is don't sit and do it straight through. 15 minutes, take a 5-minute break, take time, and then come back to it. Okay. Break it up within that 2 hours. Don't just sit sustained for 2 hours. Your brain is not processing. Okay. So PSR, let's go to my next one. I've talked about the value of preview. They want to use the example of framing a house. I do my lawnmower, but let's talk about preview. You're skimming, asking questions, predicting answers, doing prior knowledge. When you're previewing a chapter, you're not reading. Your previewing is skimming. There's a difference. Skimming, you're looking at headlines or topics, right? Headers, topics. Looking at how things are arranged, what items are where. Things like, okay, color, do they write in the margins? All those kinds of things. Do they have a preface? Do they have a summary? The other thing you are doing with previewing is you're starting to ask questions. The questions are very important in the fact of what's the purpose for reading? So one great preview technique that I would encourage you to use is when you read a chapter, turn every heading into 1 or 2 questions. And then know you're reading to answer those questions. So for example, maybe a heading in here is PSR. Can you turn that into a question? Yeah. What is PSR? What does PSR mean? What are the elements of PSR, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter the phrasing as long as you are doing a question to answer, okay? Study read. Critically read. So you've done your previewing, you've gone through, you made your questions, you looked at the layout of everything. Now you're going to start reading and you're chunking. I recommend you start with a section at a time. You ask and answer questions, and then you monitor your reading. Monitor means you're aware of what you're processing and what you are not processing, okay? So one of the things I always suggest is as you're reading is use a checkpoint system. So let's pretend this is a page and I'm reading along and I read it. If you can cover, and I say paragraph by paragraph, cover the paragraph so that you can't see it. Oh, well, that did not work the way we wanted, did it? A little bit. So cover the paragraph so you can't see it. If you can say out loud what the author wants you to know, or you can write in your own words on a separate page of paper what the author wants you to know, then you understand the material. If you can't do that, you go back and read it again. So we're talking about this because reading is not studying. Read. You read things. Why do you read things? What's the purpose of reading? Yeah. Yeah, to understand it. Absolutely. The purpose of reading is to understand what the author wants you to know. Once you understand, then you move into studying. Then it's a matter of how do I get that information into my long-term memory. But the caveat is you can't get anything into long-term memory unless you understand it. Okay? Does that make sense? Good, bad, ugly? So you have to understand. How do you know you understand something? If you can say it in your own words or write it in your own words. If you can't do that, you don't understand it. So then you got to read till you do understand. So initially, especially with difficult text, you may find yourself reading and rereading until you do understand it. And sometimes that's when you got to bring questions to the instructor. I don't get this. I don't understand what they mean here. And then they'll explain it in words that maybe you do understand, right? Because if you're not an expert in that field, you don't have anything to relate it to, so you have a hard time processing it, okay? So it is important that you monitor your reading. The more check marks you have, the more rereading, probably the more difficult the material. And so you're gonna have a hard time processing, okay? Remember, your goal is not memorization. A huge mistake students make is they think they have to memorize the information to score well on a test. I can tell you right now, there's too much information. It's not gonna happen. You're never gonna be able to do it unless you're a Sheldon Cooper. That is not gonna get you success in the college arena. College arena is about critical thinking and application of knowledge. So what that means is you have to have a core understanding of the concepts and then utilize strategies and skills to apply them in different situations, okay? All right, step 3, the last stage of your reading is return to main idea statements and then reorganize. To help your brain process information, reorganize, rewrite, use your own words as much as possible to help you understand and process the information, okay? All right, so I want to, they have a bunch of activities. I guess we could take a look at an activity. All right, let's try one. Here we go. Can you see the photo or do I need to enlarge it? I don't know if it's gonna let me. Hold on, I'll do slideshow and then it might. From current slide. Here we go. Okay, let's just take a look at this. We're just going to look at this a minute. And then I'm going to ask you some questions. Okay? So we'll just take, I don't know, how long do you think you need? A minute? Just study it. Go ahead and study it. Have anybody ever done these before, by the way? Yeah, they're kind of like I Spies. This is my grandson's favorite. Okay. Does anybody remember the color of the tractor?
Green.
Wow. How many whistles? What's that? Okay, you're going to say one. What green animal was next to the school bus? Maybe.
A bear.
What was above the letter U? What color is the butterfly?
Orange.
Okay, So here are the answers. Green, 2 whistles, not 1. Dinosaur, whoever guessed that was right. What was above the U? A monkey. Colors, red, orange, yellow. So somebody hit orange, but it was multiple colors. Okay, great. So this is an example of you want to know what you got to look for within it before you can answer correctly. How does that apply to reading? So if I had told you, if I'd given you the questions ahead of time, you would have known where and what to focus on and how to do it, right? How can you do that with your reading? How is that going to help you with what to know, where to go? Yeah, go for it.
Because when you read something that you're not looking for, and like you'll automatically be paying closer attention instead of ignoring that and paying attention.
It focuses your attention. So there's 2 ways to do this. The first way is look in your chapter. See if your chapter has questions. Does ours?
Yes.
Yeah. So a lot of students think it's cheating if you start at the back. No. Look at the questions they're asking. Look at the summary first before you do your reading. You're priming your brain. Okay, what are the important parts? Where are they emphasizing, right? But maybe you might have a textbook that doesn't have questions at the back. That's where you create your own questions within the headings. So when you're using questions in the heading, you're telling your brain, these are the things we're reading to understand, reading to know. And that primes your brain to get ready for reading. Make sense? The strategy I'm introducing you today is called annotating, and you do annotating while you are reading. Number 1, I want to emphasize, annotating is different from note-taking. It is not the same. 2 different skill sets, there's going to be 2 different requirements. We are doing annotating today. For annotating, this is where you're actually marking in the text. So, science has shown that actually to help you process reading, it's like a conversation with the author and you're marking in the writing that they're doing. In our case, where's the writing? In the book, right? Most students I work with are very resistant to writing in the book. Why? Why do you think?
You want to sell it back.
Yeah, that's a number 1 thing. They want to sell it back and they want maximum dollar, okay? Well, let me give you a couple of heads up on this. The first is you're not going to get hardly anything for your book. You might as well just write that off. I think it's like 10% return. It's a horrible, I mean, not just here, anywhere, any college, whatever. So if you paid, and I'm just taking a random number, if you paid $50 for your book, you may get 10 bucks back out of it, 20% tops, okay? So let's say you want that $10, right? Okay, I want that $10. And if you write in it, you might not get as much back. They might say, oh, I'm only gonna give you $8 back or some such type number. Remember, this is a tool. And I can assure you that $10 is way cheaper than having to take the course over because you weren't successful the first time. So let's pretend it's a biology course. I don't know what the rate is, but let's say it costs you $150 to take that course per credit. I don't know what the rate is, I'm guessing. Okay, it's a 3-credit course. It's going to be $450 to take that course. For 10 bucks, because you don't want to use your tool, right? You don't want to use the book. You don't want to write in it. You're not going to use it effectively. So you're actually costing yourself later on more money because you may not be as successful because you didn't use the book the way you should. I always kind of use this example. You are given an axe and you're told you got to go chop that tree down. Axe is your tool. And you say, nah, I got a penknife. I'm going to cut it with that because that's a really nice axe. I don't want to wreck it. And I might be able to sell that axe to someone else, so I'm not going to use it. Can you cut down that tree with a penknife? Sure. A lot harder, a lot longer. That's why you use the tools. The book is a tool. Use it. The second reason a lot of students are very resistant to it is they have been trained since kindergarten not to write in books. Why? Because in the public system, books are shared. You gotta leave it for the next guy, all those kinds of things. College arena, it doesn't work that way. Science shows you wanna engage with that book, and writing will help you process information, annotating. So use it. You bought that book, whether you realize it or not, it's yours. You own it. You can highlight, you can write, you can do all kinds of stuff. So use the tool you've been given. The other thing I want to emphasize before I really talk about annotating in depth is that annotating is writing in the text. It's not highlighting. Highlighting is not the same as annotating. Okay? Highlighting is different. So for the purposes of annotating in our course, it's writing in the text. When I say the text, I mean in the book. Okay? There's some video resources that you can look how to annotate from Grand Valley. Annotating video, I think this is me, if I remember right. Hey, that's me.
Hi, my name is
sorry.
Shirey. I'm an
10 years ago and 50 pounds lighter. Anyways, I talked to you about annotating, so I built in that for
Hi,
you.
my name is
Yes, I know. Okay. So there's one out of Grand Valley. There's one of me talking about annotating as part of the plan step. Don't get too worked up about plan yet. We're going to do that later. And then I give you a sample. Again, 3 radical women, and I'm going to hit pause. Maybe. Yep. And what this is me demonstrating to you annotating with an article. I'm walking you through the process. Okay. Let me get out of here. And what I'm going to do is I want to open up annotating for you. This is the items that we're going to be checking for annotating. This is what I'm going to want you to do. You're going to pick a current chapter from a textbook of your choice. And if you don't have a textbook, let me know. I will provide you with an article that I want you to annotate. Okay? You need to complete specific items. And so you're going to need to be willing to mark in the textbook, or if you are one of those that you are married to that $10 return fee or whatever that you might get at the end, go make copies of the pages and then write on those pages. So far, so good? Question?
I think I have the online version.
Okay, so then what you might want to do is either print out, it allows you so many pages you can print out and handwrite in, or you may complete this on the electronic version. I've used the electronic version, and you can, like for example, you can type in some annotation. It has an annotating feature in it. So you're welcome to play with that as well. Okay, good question on that. Here is what you're going to get graded on though. Here's what I'm going to be looking for. I want every title, heading, and subheading turned into a question. So if you take a look at the book, every time you see a heading, I want you to turn that into at least one question. Take a look at a chapter, I don't know, chapter 8 in our book. Go ahead and whip out that book. How many headings do you have in chapter 8? Just randomly. I don't want to hover too close because we're doing social distancing. Yeah, go ahead and find chapter 8. I think it's, I forgot the page number, but.
About 125 page usually.
Okay. How do I know what a heading looks like? How do I know a heading? Yeah, go for it.
It's usually bold or different color.
Yeah, and it's usually larger font. So can I borrow your book a minute? Can I just get in your face? Sorry. So if you take a look at this, that would be a heading. Here's another heading, right? Every time you see one of those, that is where you are going to turn it into a question. So keep in mind, What if it's in green? Is that content? No, don't worry about the green background. Okay? There's another heading, right? Every time you see a heading, that's where you create a question. Where are you creating those questions? You're writing it right above the heading, right in there, right in the book. Make sense? Underline the topic of each paragraph. Every paragraph within that section, within that chapter, you have to underline. Here's a pop quiz. I want to know, what's the topic?
Idea.
It's not always at the end. A topic can be found anywhere in the paragraph, but a topic is usually a word or a phrase. It's a word or a phrase. In other words, who or what is that paragraph about? It's not usually a whole sentence. So who or what is that paragraph about? Does that make sense? Okay. Circle any keywords or vocabulary words you think are going to be important or that you need to know. You only circle the ones that you think you need to know that you don't already know. If you already know what a word means, you do not need to circle it. You also want to circle keywords. Keywords show amount, like how much. I want you to number any listed items. So sometimes in a paragraph, they may list several things. Like, for example, there are several reasons you should not buy a car. One is to save yourself money, helps become more safe, you're healthier if you walk, blah, blah, blah. So they start listing things. You just go above each item and number it. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? And then indicate if there are any examples. You're just going to put a little note on the side, example. And then in the margins, this is where you're going to write your questions, pull out information that you need to know about each topic, and then you link it to the paragraph as needed along with definitions. Now I want to kind of show you an example of this. I did not bring my document. I wanted to walk you through a document, and I didn't bring it with me. Let's see if we can show you this one. It's directions. I don't know if it's going to show you the finished product. Nope. It doesn't show you. That's not what I wanted to show you. Sorry. Let's see if I can find my oldest creature. I don't see my oldest creature either. I hate to do this to you, but let me hit pause here. So for 3 Radical Women, I'm going to fast forward. And I'm going to stop. Okay.
How did we define topic?
So I'm gonna hesitate here a minute. Okay, just pause. So you can take a look. This video is me showing you annotating of an article, right? So these are the types of things you're going to be doing with your chapter. So what do you notice right away? The first heading, I wrote 1 or 2 questions that are associated with that heading. So 3 Radical Women. My questions are, who are the radical women? What were they in history? Question. Those are the questions. So I turned that one. So that's an example of that. Let me fast forward some more so I can show you a couple other things. Okay, hold on. So now you can see, what did I do in the first paragraph? I underlined what the topic was. Who or what is that paragraph about? Notice I did not underline the whole sentence because the topic is just simply a word or a phrase. Who or what is that paragraph talking about? And then I also, okay, what are words I didn't know? I circled the words that I didn't know that I think I need to know in that paragraph. You see what I'm doing there so far? Okay. And then I'm going to fast forward some more. So again, then the next step would be, okay, now I got to pull information out in the margins, my margin notes. So what I did is I pulled out my topic, and then basically what this is from that paragraph, what do I need to know about that topic? That's what I'm going to write in the margins. So, okay, she published a newspaper, she was important in fashion, she was very restrictive, here are the dates she lived, and she was known for bloomers, okay? That's the key information from that paragraph I need to know. Please note, I'm not writing full sentences, right? It's notes. You're giving yourself little notes. That's annotating. You are noting some certain things, right? And I pulled it out to the margin. And then, what do you think is going to happen? Hold on, I'm going to fast forward quite a bit. I'm going to stop. Hold on. It's buffering. Come on, Grandma. I don't know why it's so slow. Okay, so take a look. Okay, when I'm done with that paragraph, I'm moving on and I'm doing the same thing. Here in this paragraph, here's my topic. Here's a key keyword. This one had an example. I don't have example up in this one. So keep in mind, not everything will be in every paragraph of those items that I gave you on the instructions. Does that make sense so far? But you go through and you repeat it for every paragraph. So now I got one done. You can see I'm working on 2. And then what will be the next step? After I've done my topic, I've underlined or I've circled my keywords. Take a look. This one had a listing. So I listed those things, right? 1, 2, 3. I also have an example. What do I got to have now when I'm done? In the margins. I got to pull out in the margins. Doesn't matter if you go left or right. Doesn't matter. Pull out my topic. What was the topic? Feminism. Okay, feminism. What do I need to know about feminism in this paragraph? So remember, you are going paragraph by paragraph. Okay? Now this is why I provide the videos. These are samples, examples of how to do it. So in this case, it is very important that you watch all your resources, watch the examples before you engage in doing it.
And we're going to upload this again.
Yeah, so this is the other item. So the annotating assignment, the instructions are here, and I talked to you about this. You do not need to give me every page from the chapter, because otherwise you're talking like, I don't know, 40 pages sometimes. I'm thinking 3 consecutive pages. And the 3 consecutive pages are demonstrating your annotating techniques. So does everybody understand that for 3 consecutive? 3 consecutive means 3 in a row. Demonstrating, annotating means it must contain the elements of what I talked about in the criteria. It's got to have a heading that you turned into question. You have to be underlining the topic. Got to have stuff in the margins, circling keywords. Not every paragraph has to have every single thing. Like, for example, there might not be lists in every paragraph. Not every paragraph has an example, right? Okay, great. They won't all have it, but something somewhere better have that. Make sense? And then what you're going to want to do is take a picture of it, save it as a file, and then you can upload it on Moodle. Okay, so, use your cell phones. That's what my summer group did. They just took pictures of the pages, 1, 2, 3, try to keep it all in the same file, save it on your computer, and then upload it on Moodle. And then when I go, all I have to do is open and I can see it. If you have major issues with this, reach out to me, and what I did this summer, 1 or 2 people had a problem, I will allow you to email it to me as an attachment. Do not automatically do that. Okay, because I've got a million students and I don't want everybody emailing me as an attachment.
So,
You gotta demonstrate need first. Does that make sense?
looking to is in chapter, right?
Yeah, so here's a trick to this one. I want it relevant and useful to you. Don't just randomly pick chapters because you think it's gonna be easy. I don't want you to do it just for the sake of doing it. The best way to do this is if you have to read something for another class, like, I don't know, maybe your criminal justice class has assigned chapter 3 and you know there's a test coming up on chapter 3 soon, pick chapter 3 in that textbook to do, right? Annotate, do your stuff there. Because it's a 2-for-1. You know you gotta read it and understand it anyways for the class, and you are also fulfilling an assignment for me. You can do it for any textbook from any class you are taking this semester. I don't want anything from the past because that defeats the purpose. If you don't have anything, if none of your classes have a textbook, fine, use mine. What chapter are we in? 8. Make it current. Don't just randomly do a chapter. Does that help answer your question pretty sufficiently? Excellent questions. Any other questions, concerns, issues? So far, so good. All right. Let me make sure I covered everything here. I think that's it. So when you look at activities and assignments, these are the things I'm taking grades on this week. Everything's due Sunday by 11:59 p.m. So this first one I didn't talk about, but it is an assignment. It's an interactive video. Interactive video means it's a YouTube video, and I've embedded questions within the video you need to answer while you're watching. Okay. So it looks like this. It's going to pull up, and you just click that arrow.
There's a great deal of misinformation and resulting
Sorry.
in the world.
And I'm going to back it up because it does give you instructions at the beginning. Sorry. Maybe it doesn't let me reverse. Yes, it should. It should let me reverse.
World of
Hold
study
on.
strategies and
Maybe click
optimization.
on
To this
the-
day, I still get frequent
Spot and then drag it back, maybe?
The spots are questions. So down here, this tells you these are the spots that I've placed questions within the video. I thought there was a line. Let me
questions
try.
from students about the relative utility of various study methods. Let's cover the most popular techniques and go.
Oh, I don't know why it won't let me back up unless I disabled that I wouldn't let you back up. Back up with it again. Let me go out and come back in. Let me see if it will start in the same place or it's going to start new. So when you start this, it is right here at the, it's a YouTube video. You just click on the thing. And
There's
in
a great
theory,
deal of
yeah, there we go. If you don't touch anything, it stops every time I present you with information or a question. So you have plenty of time to read it through. You're not rushed. So in the beginning, it just tells you the instructions. Here we go. It'll occasionally pause, give a statement for you to answer questions. Make sure you're paying attention when you're viewing. Don't just run into an empty room. Why? Because this is automatically posted into the gradebook. So if you just go through and randomly, it's a grade. It's going in the gradebook. There are no redos. There's no do-overs. So do it right the first time. That being said, it's not difficult. Everything is contained within the video. You can go as slow as you want, okay? As I said before, the circles down at the bottom, these are where the questions are placed within the video, so you know there's upcoming questions. Another word of warning on this is make sure it plays all the way to the end, even after. So you're going to see my last question is here. But there's more video, and it's got to go all the way. The video has to play all the way to start, and then it'll, I think it asks you to submit answers. you have to play it all, and the answers have to be submitted. You should see your score instantly, and then you'll see it in the grade book. If you don't see it, that means you didn't do something right. Do it again. Play it all the way through until a grade is logged in the grade book. If you don't have a grade logged in the grade book by the due date, then I manually close this and you get a 0. Okay? But I'll be honest with you, this is, in my mind, a way to get an easy A, an easy 100%. Everything's contained in the video. It's my way of ensuring you watch the videos as a resource. So that's why I did it. It's just good information for you to have and learn about some new things. Okay, question, sorry.
Oh, no, okay.
Did I? Okay. Yes.
Now I did insert my Word doc, but for some reason on the Moodle it doesn't want to check it off for some reason.
Okay, so I'm sorry, which one are you talking about?
About last week, like, cause I've noticed on a couple assignments, like I might
Yep.
do it, but then it doesn't check it off automatically.
Excellent question. Okay, so that's something totally different from this, just so you know. Okay.
Right.
So the question, and the reason I'm repeating is for the recording, because someone else might have that same question. The question was, hey, sometimes I do stuff on the Moodle page, and I know I've done it. I submitted it, whatever, on Moodle, but that check is not appearing. There are 3 different ways a check appears. Some items I have said, if you just simply go in and look at it, ba-bing, a check will appear. The second way, if you go in and you upload, for example, if you post and then do 2 replies like you're supposed to on the forums, after you have completed it, ba-bing, a check will appear. A third way is a check will not appear until I put a grade in the grade book for that item. So some things you will not get a check until I have submitted the grade. On the video one, on this H5P, as soon as you're done, if you've done it right, you will not only see a grade in the grade book, but you will see a check on the box. The last way you might see a check is if you manually go in and check the box. There are a few things like that. There's not tons, but there are some in which I say, okay, you can check it yourself. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, because I was a little confused, because sometimes I click on a video and I'm like, well, how do I already get a check? And then-
Yeah, no, that's a really
Yeah,
good
I'm
point.
like, okay.
Yep. The video, these are called H5P videos, which means I've embedded stuff into them.
Okay.
Those ones are almost all, you got to wait for a grade in the grade book before that check will appear. Watching the video is not enough. You have to answer and submit the answers to get that check. That's a good question. And I'll be honest with you, on Moodle, it depends on the shape of the box. Some boxes are solid lines, some are dotted or dashed, and that tells you the difference between if you can self-check or if you got to wait for me to do the check. Yeah, question.
When I go into the study technique, it says the site is not confirmed properly for displaying mobile H5P content.
Then you're going to have to get it on another computer. In other words, whatever the setting is on your computer, it's not going to show it the way it should. So you're going to want to find, now you can go to the library, all of our computers over there. You can use one of those to do it, no problem. But there's something in your setting. The other option you can do is take that over to the help desk at the Wood Building and say, I'm trying to do an H5P and it's telling me it won't display properly. And then they might just be able to tell you what setting you have to adjust to get it to do it correctly. I don't know what the setting is, I'm sorry. I know. Arr, arr. Technology, super sweet when it works, super stinky when it does not. Okay, before I stop recording, any other questions, concerns, issues that need to be on the recording? Okay, so I'm going to stop recording. Come on, Grandma. I will if I can get up there.